So in this episode, I'm going to teach everyone how to repair a blender. This happens to be an Osterizer blender. But we're not talking rocket science here, so I think a lot of the things that I've learned from repairing this might come in handy. So what happened was, my roommate went to use the blender, and I was in the other room, and I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on, and I heard something odd. I heard like a garump, and I'm in tune to sparks and flames, so I think I realized that something had happened, and I heard, oh shit, there goes the blender, and I went in the kitchen, and it was already in the trash, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. So I pulled it out and looked at it, and it seemed kind of odd to me that a blender would just explode, but I'm a curious fella. So I assessed the situation, and I figured, well, maybe I'll at least take out the motor and repurpose that, or see what the hell happened, because I'm a curious guy. So I took off the mixer glass container pitcher, whatever it's called, and I proceeded to remove the mounting feet that hold the base plate and vent fan onto the blender, and they're pretty much just sound dampened, isolated mounts. And the first thing I made a mistake of doing was removing the wrong screws. I always start with what seems like obvious screws, and these seemed obvious, but then the thing didn't come off, and then I realized I had to take the feet off. So you kind of go, and you'll notice that those two screws that I removed the first time hold this shield, which I'm not sure if it probably has a couple purposes, but I was originally thinking, oh, it might be like an electric arc shield, so the cables that run down to the motor are separated from the windings. Maybe it's just mechanical protection. And then I thought, oh, maybe it's a dust shield, because motors can get dirty. And then I thought maybe it was just to direct, and I think this is the solution. I think it was just to direct the air through the motor to cool it out the base. So it probably serves a couple purposes, but good stuff. So the first thing I noticed is the motor was spinning. So if the thing blew up, motors usually blow up for a reason, either because of age or dirt or shorting or something failed in the wiring system. But this was so clean and pristine, and the shaft wasn't locked. And then when I was doing all that, I realized, oh shit, yeah, there's a fuse in here. And you really can't see it because I already cut it out. But there's this wire that goes from the outlet through this wire nut that was taped and secured and overly protected, if you ask me. But then this little doodad was directly soldered to a fuse, and it continued down into the motor, and it was in heat shrink and to the windings of the motor or whatever other circuitry might be involved with starting the motor. So I had a difficult time trying to cut off the old heat shrink, which was clear, without damaging the cabling or whatnot. So you'll see the other end is here, and that's what I'm going to have to solder a new fuse to, because the fuse blew. So fuses blow on overcurrent. If you have an overcurrent situation, it'll blow that fuse to protect the motor. But they'll never tell you there's a fuse in the blender, or you should go out and spend another $50 to $100. They'll just oh, there's a flame, no good, let's just throw it in the trash, let's throw it in the bottom of the Indian Ocean or something like that. Let's make a coral reef out of it. So I concluded that the motor was great, and I was like, well, what the hell happened? Everything's spinning. And then I got the fuse out, and I decided to put this all away, and like a big stupid idiot, I was like, oh shoot, maybe the shaft and the blades is seized. So I went to turn this thing, and I wouldn't budge. I almost cut my finger, because I don't know if you can see it, but that's rather sharp. Oh, hi, Petey. That's rather sharp. So you'll see that receptacle there engages the shaft from the motor, and spins this blade, and what's probably some really basic bearing system inside this pressed on steel seal. So what I did was, since I couldn't turn it, I put a screwdriver in the shaft receptacle. Whoops. And then I still couldn't turn that friggin' thing inside there. So I had to get a rubber used from hot water jars and stuff like that, a rubber kind of like little thingy to protect your hands from the heat. And I put it on that round part, and since I'm holding the camera, I really can't say it, but I held that round part, and then I turned the shaft that goes through the center, and I literally had to put my entire weight into it, and finally it cracked. So I cracked the whatever was in there that was sticking the shaft that runs through that, probably like a brass fitting or whatever, press-on fitting, and I could still barely turn it. It was like, but it was turning, it was turning, so, and now it's not turning. So what I did was, alright, I put WD-40 in around the edges of the fitting and around the bearings there, whatever that is. And then I actually put it in gasoline because it wasn't getting any better. And then I was like, screw it. So then I felt like, oh my God, if I'm ever going to use this thing, I don't want gasoline and WD-40 on it. So I washed it heavily with soap and water. And then I took the friggin' thing and I put it in a bowl of white vinegar, which is 5% acid. And I let it soak. And lo and behold, as soon as I did that, the thing started spinning freely. Now what's interesting is, last night I could take that and flick it and it would spin. Not crazy spin, but spin. So it's still setting up a little bit. So I think the problem with this blender is that if you don't use it a couple times a day or every week, this eventually gets full of crap and it just seizes up. So a lesson here is use your fucking blender, alright? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close up tonight. This is the first part of this. And then tomorrow or the next day I'm going to put that fuse in there and solder the fuse in there. But I think I pretty much showed you everything you need to know. So if you seize a blender, check this mother because that's probably stuck. And then always remember that you can pull it apart and very simply, save yourself 50, 60, 100 bucks. Check the fuse or anything obvious and you can repair most of this crap yourself. See you later.